Hello everyone, it's so good to see you. Once upon a time, Bandai Namco released a certain Tales game for the Wii, but did not initially have plans to release it overseas. This was the original Tales of Graces. It was not until a couple of years later that we would see the release here in the West, an expanded version called Tales of Graces F, exclusively on the PlayStation 3. This version had more content, better visuals, DLC, and an entirely new campaign as an epilogue to the main story. But it was there, on the PS3, that many thought it and other Tales of games would stay, perhaps indefinitely. Well, hope has been renewed as Tales of Graces F Remastered was announced to be released across all major platforms, setting this isolated title free. The 12th main installment in the series is praised by many fans for having the most dynamic and engaging battle system in the franchise, but exactly how well does that, and everything else, hold up in 2025? How does this stand up to other remasters of Tales games, and should you even give this one a chance? Well, I might be a little biased in my answer, but still, let's go through what this title was about, as well as everything new and returning in Tales of Graces F Remastered. The footage you're seeing in this review was captured on a PS5. Feels like a natural transition since the original that I played was on the PS3. And upon starting it up, I was delighted by the notably improved graphics. The visuals look great, and despite how this was originally a game for the Wii, the art direction still holds up. A remaster isn't going to be pushing your console to the limits, but I do think that this is aged, well, gracefully. Characters and animations are smoothed out with a fluid 60 frames per second on all platforms except for the Nintendo Switch. The assets have been carefully touched up and are noticeable as soon as you start up a new file. While the prologue introduces you to the very basics of battle, it's definitely not the main point since you, as the main character Asbel, is an inexperienced child who has very limited actions. The first couple of hours you spend as kids is mostly filled with story over gameplay and is meant to establish the bonds between the main cast. A great focus is placed on one of the main characters, Sophie, and everyone's constant connection to her, even as the plot eventually leaps forward in time a number of years. After an incident that happens as kids, Asbel, who happens to be the son of a noble, leaves his home to become a knight worthy of protecting the people he cares about. Thing is, he didn't really consider how his friends and family would have felt about this decision. It was partially about escaping his responsibility of having to take over ruling his land one day. As I grow frighteningly closer in age to characters the main cast will call Gramps, I've come to not only appreciate their inclusion, but also realize, yeah, kids make some dumb choices. I feel like people always have something to say about the story, and not always positive things. A lot of it revolves around Asbel trying to find self-worth and his overall place in the world. After reuniting with his childhood friends, he starts to question what he can do for others and himself, before getting wrapped up in conflict involving one of his best friends. This isn't a story that's going to set the world on fire, but it does keep moving with its own share of twists and turns, especially by the time you assemble your full party. There are some nice, good feel moments, as much as there is tension within the first chapters of the game. Tales titles tend to focus a bit more on the characters themselves compared to some other JRPGs. Anyone who's played the Tales of series knows that for as serious as it can take itself at times, the characters, through its script and voice delivery, can lead to some of the funniest moments in RPGs. I always get excited to see a skit, which is the long-running tradition of having animated cut-in scenes between characters. This is very much in the style that Team Destiny would do with half-body portraits, which makes it look a lot like a visual novel in these. Some of them have to do with the main story, while many of them are fun fluff as the characters banter with each other. And I mean that lovingly. It is the best kind of fluff where we wait to see what kind of weird things come out of these characters' mouths. The story and its characters are also carried by its excellent combat system. In all my time playing action RPGs opposed to turn-based ones, even within the realm of other Tales games, this might be the most fluid and thoughtful battle system in the series. If you have by any chance played Tales of Rebirth, the battle system's use of chain capacity is an evolution of that game's, in which you don't need a separate point bar like MP to use special arts. They've done away with your usual basic 3-hit combo and integrated that into the same system. These assault arts, or A arts, are assigned to a tree of actions, each using more of your chain capacity as you continue. A arts are always assigned and change as you input different directions. Your burst arts, or B arts, are like your traditional special attacks in the Tales of series. These two can be chained together, but only if you have enough chain capacity, or CC. This gauge replenishes pretty fast on its own, and certain actions like perfectly dodging attacks or hitting weaknesses can replenish your points mid-combo. You can quickly dodge to the sides, backstep, or lunge forward depending on your situation. Ideally, you want to go on the assault between when you and your allies are attacking, optimally being on cooldown at different points so that you can all keep the combo going as high as possible. For a good portion of the game, following a battle, a window will appear that teaches you a little bit more about the mechanics of the game so as to not overwhelm you all at once. They are rather helpful though. I think that's how I learned that critical hits in this game aren't based on a set percentage, but rather when your CC raises in battle. By getting hits, your critical gauge goes down, adding to the risk versus reward. And that is essentially the core of this game's battle system. Tales of Grace's F encourages constant awareness of your positioning, resource management, and working in tandem with your allies. Even over a decade later, it is still very satisfying to chain together a huge combo and finish the enemy off with a mystic art. But you know, that's enough of the story and battles for now. What are some of the new things that's in Tales of Grace's F Remastered? I believe the most notable change to this game comes before even starting the adventure. So normally in a Tales of game, after battle you receive grade depending on your performance. But in Grace's, grade is earned through your various accomplishments achieved throughout the course of the game. You won't know how much you've earned or have a means to use it in your first playthrough. Then what does it do? Well, once you beat the game and start a New Game Plus, you'll have access to the Grade Shop. You can use grade to purchase bonuses for your New Game Plus, from crazy boosted experience points, keeping your money, expanded item storage, keeping your learned arts and titles. It's a whole lot. This has always made the Tales series my favorite example of how to handle and customize a New Game Plus. For the first time in the series, the Grade Shop is the first thing you visit before even doing a dang thing. You're also given such a generous amount of grade that you can buy pretty much everything in the shop on your first playthrough. Do you want to earn way more experience after battle? Half the prices of everything at shops? Move around the field at maximum speed? Maybe you want minimum experience or want enemies and allies dealing double damage. There is a whole set of options here to customize your first playthrough. And this is something that I'm delightfully surprised by. For fans who have played this game several times by now, we can start off with pretty much everything and make it very close to a New Game Plus right from the start. And beyond that, at any point in the game, you can go into the options menu and enter the Grade Shop to toggle a number of options. Not everything can be turned on or off once the game begins, but there is a surprising amount of flexibility. I did in fact turn on the maximum amount of experience gained, but I also compensated by increasing the overall game difficulty, and it still offered a fair amount of challenge halfway through the game. I will say, if this is your first time playing Tales of Grace's F, I don't recommend buying too many things from the Grade Shop if you want to have that authentic first time experience. But that's just me, you can do whatever you want, I won't be able to see if you're being naughty. Regardless, I'm excited to think that this is a feature that Bandai Namco will be adding to future remastered titles in the series. Beyond the Grade Shop, there's also a lot of quality of life improvements made for this version too. Main quest markers will be displayed on the field at all times, while limited time quests will be denoted by an hourglass. This makes things a lot easier to keep track of, as there are moments where a limited time quests were not always made clear to you in the original. This can be particularly useful in dungeons where navigating can get confusing due to areas looking very samey, but if it feels too handholdy, you can always turn it off under options. In the same manner, you can also turn off enemy encounters whenever you feel like. I'm glad that this is a quality of life option that's been more common in RPGs in general. Sometimes you're just trying to exit an area and don't want to bump into a battle in tight corridors. It does feel weird to just phase right through enemies like this though. Maybe your situation is that you're low on health and are afraid of a game over, or perhaps you're trying to take down a strong enemy that you know you can conquer. If you happen to fall in battle, you can now retry instead of going back to your last save point. Definitely helps to save some time, especially when a tough fight is right in front of a cutscene, for example. And guess what? Those cutscenes can be skipped as well. You can now also customize the button mapping for both battle and field movements. Hard to hear battle quotes now have subtitles too. Sound effect quality has also been improved, like Hubert's bullets now actually sounding like guns and not laser pew-pews. And something that I didn't realize until recently, all puzzles and obstacles that required color recognition have been removed, improving the experience for players who may be colorblind. It's great to see games be more conscious of accessibility options like this, and I hope it continues in the future. Tales of Graces F Remastered also offers players access to a lot of DLC content that was available exclusively on the PS3 store. This includes several titles and outfits, though there are some licensed content that had to be excluded, like the Code Geass costumes, unfortunately. You get early access to other costumes, accessories, items like the Magic Carta, which features characters and quotes from past games. We basically got really spoiled here. And of course, you can take advantage of these only if you really want to. You still need to confirm the use of any of these items before you're given them in-game. And something that's exciting to me, we now have newly translated special skits that used to be in Japanese only. Many of these reference holidays in Japan or other silly scenarios, and they did in fact gather the voice actors to record lines again. The only newly casted character in these is Alexis Tipton as Sharia, who never fails to impress with how accurate she can sound to Laura Bailey.
Thank you very much for your support, both of Tales of Graces F and the entire Tales of series. Happy New Year!
This was absolutely not something they needed to include, but there is over half an hour of new dialogue to enjoy, and it's just so nice to see that amount of care being put into this remaster. Anyone who purchases the Digital Deluxe Edition also gets you the digital art book and soundtrack, several permanent stat boosting items, and my favorites, the Battle BGM pack. This lets you change the battle music to select tracks from across the entire Tales of series. No, really, there are 2 tracks from every main release from Tales of Fantasia all the way up to Tales of Arise. And there are some selections of music that are probably not what you'd expect or see often in a playlist like this. Oh yeah, that's the good stuff. And these are beyond the tracks that play automatically when wearing a legacy costume into battle. When including all of the tracks available, this is easily the largest collection of Tales battle music that's ever been available in one single game. It is just one of many ways that this title gives fan service to longtime players of the series. Unfortunately, the Digital Deluxe is $20 extra US, but then again, that does bring it to the standard price of a game, so I don't know, your mileage will vary. I do wish that the music at the very least could have been included. Even with all of these improvements and additions, the game still retains some criticisms that I've had in the past. Sometimes there's long stretches of you going from place to place on the field, which unfortunately doesn't quite function like a traditional world map that you see in Tales of Symphonia, for example. Pacing of the story can drag at times, and while it's not the strongest of the Tales series, it still holds its own for a game that's over a decade old now. A unique function of this game is being able to craft items together called dualizing, which can be used not only on ingredients to cook, but also on weapons or armor to make them stronger or craft an entirely new item. Another staple of the series, titles, are now able to be leveled up after equipping them to give you incremental boosts throughout the entire course of the game. These are just some of the many ways that the game constantly rewards you for interacting, experimenting, and, well, just playing Tales of Graces. And it can be so dang witty and cheeky at times. From the manual item that lets you control your character manually, called the Manual, to the ribbons all having a coping crisis at the end of their item descriptions, to this item called the Moon Anklet that's really laying it on thick for classic manga and anime fans. There are so many examples of the writing that's just having fun with itself and is more fun to read than your typical stale menu text. From the depth of combat to the character interactions, I would say that there is still plenty of reason to give this game a shot. And if nothing else, play this game for Pascal. She is an unforgettable staple of Tales of Graces that needs to be protected, adored, and put on one of those leashes for kids. She is a force of nature, and I still never know what unhinged thing she's going to say next. Overall, there is an impressive amount of improvements, and it shows that this game wasn't just given a simple upscaling before calling it a day. Tales of Graces F, despite some problems that myself and others might have with it, is a very charming game. It is filled with very good vibes, and I am overjoyed that it has been remastered for new audiences to try out. And maybe the most exciting aspect of this is that there's more to come. This is the first title in the Tales of series 30th Anniversary Remastered Project, and I have a feeling I know what games would come next. Given the attention to detail, quality of life additions, and overall consideration of the players, I think this is going to be a great era for fans of the series. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Bandai Namco for providing me this copy for review. Do you think you'll give Tales of Graces F Remastered a try, or are you returning to the game for the first time in years like me? Let me know down in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay tuned for more reviews, features, and discussions from Good Vibes Gaming. Take care everyone, till we meet again.